Where are you from and how long have you been living in Korea?
I've been in Korea for 1 month. I live in New Jersey right now.
So I got here like June. It was like late June, really, really late June. I'm from South Jersey, not the Philly area, but like the shore.
And yeah, I also got here around the same time, like late June-ish. And I'm from Cali, Los Angeles.
What do you do for a living?
I'm actually a high schooler. I attend school.
I literally thought you were like you were a university student. I mean, because of your style.
Oh, thank you.
Nah, I'm here as a student for the summer. We both are.
What's it like, being a Korean American in Korea?
Yeah, it's a little bit funk, especially in my case, because I'm an adopted Korean. So like, I don't know jack shit. I'm like whitewashed. So like, I go into the stores and they talking to me like, cause I blend in. They just start talking to me. I'm like, 미안해, like 미국 사람이요, and then like, they're just like, oh, never mind. And then so it's been mostly chill, but sometimes they're like pissed. They're like, oh, god damn it, like this guy don't speak. Yeah.
I mean, but you could literally, be any other Asian, like, I don't know, Japanese or Chinese.
Yeah, but I think they just assume, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting being in like a very Korean homogenous sort of country. Like back in the States, it's like pretty diverse and stuff. And I'm like more comfortable with using English than Korean as well. So it's kind of weird. Like I feel like people assume that I'm pretty fluent in Korean, but I just only know like the basic like elementary kind of level, like where's the restroom or like I'm hungry, like those kind of phrases. So
I would have actually sworn that you were literally like 100% Korean, like literally like you could speak Korean.
I mean, ethnically I am 100% Korean. Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, more like your style, like in general.
Yeah, no, that's why I think that's why it's like weird because I look so Korean.
Yeah, like everything.
Yeah, like and then like my vibe seems so Korean, and then like it's like I'm just so much more. I'm like more Americanized, so it's.
Well, I was exposed to a lot of things while being a Korean American. I guess for right now, I attend a golf camp kind of thing. But when I first arrived, people were like, oh, so you're a Western person. And they didn't really think that I was Korean. Well, some of the kids there thought that I was just an American. And they're like, oh, is your blonde hair like your actual hair? And they're like, so if you're Korean American, is your dad American and your mom Korean? Because they've only met my mom. Because my dad isn't here with me right now. Everybody's been nice so far from the way I look. But many people could tell that I was Western, so I guess people tried to rip me off a couple times. But once they found out that I speak Korean, because my sister can't speak Korean, people would be like, oh, she speaks only English, I'll try and rip her off. But once I start speaking Korean, like, I kind of like understand.
And you just made mention about, like people ripping you off. Like, where is that?
Like, the local streets, under the subway, like, when I'm out here on the actual streets, they don't try and rip me off as much. But once once I'm in the subway, it's kind of different.
How have you, like been finding it, like in Korea?
I love it here. Like, yeah, I was having like a tough time back in the States, like after like finals, getting sick and all that shit. I was in a bad place, but then like when I came here, like I just started living it up. Like it's great.
That is good.
Yeah, thank you.
So like, what do you like about Korea?
Well, first of all, the drinking age is pretty fire. I'm 19, so like, that's just gas. Like, just go to the 7-Eleven, grab a soju.
Have you done it?
What's up?
Have you done it?
What?
Drinking?
Yeah, hella. I've been clubbing on shit. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like there's so much to do. It's so pretty. Like, the food is amazing, bro. Like, and it's like cheaper too. It's a bit cheaper, cause like I feel like sometimes like the number of 1,000 won like is like equivalent, but like the won's like less than the dollars and stuff. So like, I don't know. Maybe it's just peace of mind for me, but like.
How is it, like living in America compared to like Korea?
I'd say Korea, it's very easy to get around, but in America, you have to travel car by car. Like, it's very hard to get on a subway. I'd say the only places that you could really take a subway from where I live is in New York. Everywhere else, you'd have to take bus or car.
Do you think, like living in Korea is more comfortable than living like in the US?
I'd say transportation. Korea is a very well-built transportation system. But in America, I'd say like the air is cleaner, everything else is cleaner. So I'd prefer to live in America because that's where all my friends are. That's where I was born. I kind of know the place better. But if I had a chance to live in Korea and come here, I would go for it.
How, like has your experience been so far in Korea?
Yeah, it was a little tough at first because I wasn't used to like the weather and like it's like very a lot of new things and but after I kind of got used to it, it's been really good. Like he said, the food is a lot cheaper than the States, that's for sure, and a lot of people, and there's like a lot of stuff to do, and the nightlife is really good.
Do you see yourself, like living in Korea for like long term?
I don't see myself living here long term, but I can definitely see myself coming here for university, college, transfer student, exchange student. I'd love to do that someday.
You just made mention that you actually adopted. Can you like elaborate on that like a little bit if you don't mind?
Sure. So, I mean, like, Korea's like almost like not an exporter of adoptees, but ever since the Korean War, like, there's been first it was orphans, then it just kind of became like really good at sending Korean babies out, like, and so there's a lot of Korean American adoptees all over the country, and it's like kind of like an interesting situation, because you're an Asian dude. My mom's like an Irish woman from the Bronx. My dad's like half Greek. So like I know more about like jigs and stuff than I do about like Hangul. Growing up in like a white town, I was like the only Korean guy. Like personally for me it was okay. I mean like my parents I had a really great foundation, but like it's a strange identity crisis because like you're with Korean people, like oh yeah, but you can't speak, you don't know the culture, so you're not really Korean. And you talk to your white family and you're like, well, you're brown. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a little bit there, you know what I mean? So, like, it's like, all I can 100% identify with is, like, American, which is, like, kind of hard to come to terms with. Like, I wrote my college essay on that shit, like. But, yeah, it's an interesting situation. And I haven't met too many adoptees, but it's, like, a pretty unique situation. I'm trying to kind of get into that, yeah.
How does it feel like, like living as an adoptee, like in the U.S.?
When I have to meet new people, it's, like, an extra step, because especially like if they're like Asian, they like assume I'm like, yeah, well, mom's white, daddy's white, and then but it's pretty much fine. Like my family is great. Like if anything, it's just like a fun fact.
Why don't you see yourself living here long term?
My Korean isn't up to its best ability yet, and like I'd say I'm a bit more Western than I am Korean, so I'd say that I would be best fitted living in America.
How do you identify?
Yeah, I definitely identify as like a American more than Korean, and like even though I'm like 100% ethnically Korean, this is my first time being in Korea, and so it's like my first time experiencing my culture, my ethnic culture and stuff like that. So
Would you say the way they treat like Asians in America is a lot better than how like you're treated here in Korea?
Yeah, I'd say that the people here are a little bit ruder than the people in America, because I'd say bless you, hold the door for someone. I'd ask to borrow their phone because I don't have a Korean number yet, but they would just leave me with a dirty face sometimes. Sometimes they'd let me borrow it, but it's really like 50-50 here. While in America, I was always treated with respect, no thank yous, like yeses, like I'd get a response, but here they just nod their head and just go.
How would you say living in US is like different from living in Korea? I know you've just been in Korea for 2 days.
It's like its ups and downs. Not gonna lie, the weather's pretty similar to Jersey in the summer. It's just sunnier in Jersey, but it's still humid and hot. But I mean like everything is so like efficient here. Like it's just so quick, and I appreciate that. Like everything works. But I'm also like I'm from like the suburbs, so like I'm not used to like public transportation and stuff. So like that's get used to. But I'd say the biggest thing is the lack of public trash cans. Shit pisses me off. I be carrying your like hella trash all around. Like
it's like very like condensed, like compared to the States. Like every corner there's like a shit ton of stuff everywhere, and like it's just like freaking skyscrapers everywhere too. And like the transportation is really good, and there's also a lot of people. So it's just like very. Yeah, I feel like it's also a lot more like fast paced than like California where I'm from. Like the West Coast is very chill, laid back. So I think just like the culture and like just it's like a lot different, I think.
How was high school in Korea? In the US?
High school's really fun. I'd say that a lot of people still do drugs, if that's like if that's what we're asking. I enjoy high school as a high school student in America.
How would you say your experience in being an adoptee in Korea in the US is like in terms of racism, discrimination, and identifying in general?
I mean like it's pretty similar to the experiences of other Asian people. The only thing is like it almost feels like misguided sometimes, because it's just like sometimes it's like I'm one of the whites, like You know what I mean? So like they'll be like saying shit. I'm like, bro, like I don't know shit about that. Like I'm like on your side. Like I listen to Jimmy Buffett sometimes. Like, but like I don't know. I think I've never faced too much. Like I get the ching chongs and shit.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I don't think the experience is much different. Like unless they like started going into some deeper cultural stuff, but then I wouldn't even know how to get into that. So yeah.
And how about, like your experience like in Korea, like with racism, discrimination, and also like, identifying like in general?
Well, like I said, like I kind of blend in. So I've heard a lot of foreigners get stares all the time. I heard some people even get followed back to where they live and stuff.
Which is just like girls.
Yeah. And yeah, it's awful. But like, for the most part, like no one really looks at me. I just kind of like blend in until I have to talk to somebody.
Would you say, like Korea is a lot, like safer compared to, like the US?
Definitely, I think Korea is safer because in America they still allow guns in some areas, while as in Korea they have laws that protect their citizens from everything. And even with the new abortion laws in America, I'd say that Korea is definitely safer than America.
Dating like in America, like what's it like for you? Like,
Well, I'll tell you, like, you being a Korean, there's hella Korea boos out there.
tell me about it.
And I mean, especially now, like, with TikTok and stuff, like, the fetishization of Asian people is, like, through the roof. So sometimes it's just like, do you like me or, like, do you like Jimin?
Have you ever, like met, like just like I say, like a Korea boo or like, stuff like that?
Here for show. And so we're doing Yonsei University Summers program, and, like, I'm telling you right now, there's hella Korea boos. Like, if you see a girl, like a white girl with dyed front hair, like, you can tell she listens to K-pop, like.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, in the States, like I work at a Korean barbecue place, Korean fried chicken, kind of like a fusion restaurant on the boardwalk, like by the beach. So, like that just attracts that crowd anyway. So I've seen a lot of that, but like, I don't know. It's kind of freaky sometimes. It's almost nice because it's like it's working in my favor, but it's also strange and like kind of gross. So it's kind of funky, yeah.
What's your type? Like Western girls, Asian girls? What's the type?
Man, if we were gonna get real,
Yeah.
I like tone girls. Like Lean Beef Patty on TikTok. She she got a little bit of muscle. I like short hair, tone, and I'm an ass guy.
Same here.
I mean that's valid. If you're a titties guy, then like something's a little off with you. Yeah.
Compared to America, how would you say, like Korea is different?
To be honest, I don't think there's really much of a difference besides like the couple factors that you just mentioned. I'd say the world revolves pretty similarly. Besides language barriers and type of stuff, I kind of treat the world the same.
Would you say, like you, like to find like your roots as like, where you come from, your ancestors and all that?
Yeah, it's always felt like I should have had this piece, Like I don't blame anybody or like my parents or anything for like being taken away. Like I'm glad I was, brought into a nice family. But it's always like, why can't I speak Korean? Like, why don't I know this? Like, cause then I wish I did. So I'd say, I don't know. I'm also like a lazy motherfucker. So like, I want to, at least linguistically, I want to get to the point where people don't really know that I don't know how to speak.
Yeah.
Like I want to at least blend in. I think that's my goal. And I mean, as far as like history-wise goes, like I'm kind of into history and stuff, so I know like sort of about like some of that stuff. But like culturally, I'm pretty ignorant and like I don't know. I would still do want to fit that gap, but that's also like where do I start? Because like back at home, there's not that big of a foundation of like Korean people or like Korean stuff. But like here, I'm trying my best to like soak in as much as I can. But I'm only here for like 6 weeks.
Do you see yourself living in Korea long term?
Honestly, for me, I think I would love to come here like for vacation, but I don't think I could live here long term.
Why is that?
It's like I think I'm just too Americanized and like very used to like the lifestyle in the States that like I don't know, it's just a little overwhelming I think sometimes if I were to stay here for too long.